our next two panelists are going to talk about a very specific case of collaboration in the city of Brussels. Barbara is Brussels Secretary of State for the Economic Transition and Scientific Research. And Michael is a project manager at Rotor, a cooperative design practice that investigates the organization of the material environment. Together, they have experimented with Rotor deconstruction, a cooperative based in Brussels that organizes the reuse of construction materials specifically. So please welcome both of them on stage. Maybe let's start with a few words about your work, your vision of circularity, how that influenced your perspective in the last 4 years as your mandate started, and how did you come up to collaborate with Rotor?
Yes, so Brussels, as you all know, is a city of the global north, like Paris. It's a small city, 160 square kilometers, and very dense city, and with, of course, a huge impact, a huge ecological and social impact. And we want, as policymakers, to take our full responsibility about this impact. So it's a very small, very dense city. We have a lot of very good asset is that we have a lot of young people, a lot of innovators, and we know it's a service-driven economy. We know that our raw material actually is our waste. So I would say we use our big assets, the innovators, the young people, to use actually our raw material, our waste, to accelerate the circular economy in order to take our responsibility about our environmental impact.
Michael, you are based in Brussels. How long have you lived in Brussels, and how did you end up collaborating with the Secretary of State?
So yeah, I've been living and growing and even being born in Brussels. And since a bit more than 15 years now, I've been working at Rotor, which started as a non-profit organization, curious about material flows and the organization of material circulation in economy, with a strong interest for reuse strategies. How can you reuse materials? And then we progressively moved towards the building industry and starting to investigate how more building materials can be salvaged for reuse. And we started exploring this question from a cultural and theoretical point of view. And then around 2015, we launched a project that is called Rotor Deconstruction. That's actually salvaging and putting back on the market reusable building elements. And now we still have the two different structures, so Rotor, the non-profit on one hand, and Rotor Deconstruction as a cooperative company on the other. Rotor, the non-profit, is still providing a few services regarding the implementation of circular strategies in construction projects, whereas Rotor DC is active in the actual salvage and resale of building elements. And this idea of reusing building elements is something that is shared by public authorities for quite a while in Brussels, and we have had the opportunity to work together on this topic since quite a while now.
Barbara, you were influenced by the Donuts economics framework. How did that translate into your vision for the right public policies at a local level, especially connected to circularity?
So as I said, we want to be fully responsible about our impacts, both our social and environmental impacts, and both on our territory and outside our territory. So the donut was, from the beginning on, a very interesting tool on, I would say, educational purpose, to make everyone understand what our impact is. And when I say everyone, I mean the policymakers, the administrations, but also the businesses, We want that everyone would be fully aware about the impact of the Brussels way of life, both on our territory and outside our territory. And the donut explains it very easily. So first we used it as for an educational purpose, to make everyone understand what we want. And then we used it to shift our economic policies to align our economic goals with our social and environmental impact. So that's the idea. So we turned the donut into law, into a law for the economic policies. So that's what we did the last years, and that's how we can now support more and more projects like this one.
So yeah, Michael, introduce us to the genesis of Rotor deconstruction, how it started. How did you start to work more closely with the city of Brussels?
Yeah, I think an important aspect that enabled the creation of Rotor DC as a cooperative company was an incentive that was written in a regional program for a transition towards a more circular economy, which asked public developer to provide some land for the starting up of circular activities, because especially in the business of salvaging building elements, as you can imagine, takes quite a lot of space. It's quite voluminous. You need place for that, and you need it to be close to where the deconstruction sites happen, also close to where the clients are, but that's also where lands are usually quite expensive. And so for the first 5 years of the existence of Rotor DC, we benefited from a slightly cheaper rent, thanks to this measure from the program in circular economy from the Brussels capital region. So that's one example. Another example would be another incentive put in place by public authorities through the form of public grants, public fund for research and development or for innovation. And both Rotor, the non-profit, and Rotor DC, the cooperative, benefited from this kind of funding for developing, for instance, specific equipment for cleaning salvaged elements and transforming them into reusable building materials.
And what are the main insights you got from doing this work on the ground? So you're doing research and development, and how is this concretely supporting the transition to circularity from a few industries?
Yeah, for us, of course, is an asset to be active at those two levels. I think it enables better research when you are rooted in a sort of a field experience and sort of direct feedback. And I think it also improves the kind of services you can provide to the clients if you have the insight from the researcher. For us, it's a very important aspect to keep both. Yeah.
And so what did you learn, both of you, during this experiment? You started 4 years ago with like this vision. Now you've run a lot of experiments. What worked? What didn't work? What did you learn?
We learned that there is a lot of innovation possible. That actually was also the IPCC says. There is, and you see it also, there is a lot of solutions. We don't have to be. We don't have to be afraid. Of course, there are a lot of challenges, and of course, we have to reduce our impact. But there are a lot of solutions, and with incentives, you can really accelerate it. So it's really nice to see, but of course, it's not enough, and it has to go faster. And it really has to go faster because 2030 is really close. And at a local level, we can use incentive, we can use some kinds of regulation, but it's not enough. We need supranational regulation.
So yeah,
also.
what is missing to transform those local experimentations to large scale?
To make them also stronger, because they really have to fight against a global system, which is still an extractive and linear one, and it is still easier, but maybe you can understand it better than I could do, easier to use new materials than recycled of pre-used material. So that's a big problem, and it's really complicated for business like his business to survive actually. So to really help them, And to really accelerate this movement, we need supranational regulation to make actually a fair playing field for everyone and a better playing field for business respecting both the environment and the people.
Michael, do you have plans to what you did in Brussels to do it in other cities? And would you benefit from the support of supranational governments?
Yeah, we don't have immediate plan for moving away from Brussels. I think the kind of activity we do is very, very rooted in a specific context. You need to build a network of trusted contractors with whom you can collaborate. You need to increase the trust of your clients. I think it would be quite complicated to replicate that somewhere else. Someone else could do that, of course. It's a model that can be replicated, but not us for the moment, at least. But I totally agree with this idea of a sort of glass ceiling coming from supranational policymakers. What we've learned these last years, experimenting with also accompanying a lot of building owner and clients in integrating reuse strategies in their project, is one of the lessons learned is that you can do so much at the scale of a project. You can even do quite a lot at the scale of a region and enabling public policies that foster these kind of activities. But then you inevitably meet some sort of obstacles, bottlenecks that comes from higher levels. For instance, one idea that we often discuss about is in Belgium for the moment, there is a VAT that is lower for second-hand goods, such as clothes or second-hand bags, but not for building materials, not yet at least. And this is not something that has to be taken up at regional level. It's something from the federal level, and probably even at European level, we would need to harmonize this sort of instruments. And this is only one example, of course. There are many others I could give.
Barbara, maybe as a conclusion, is it your first time at ChangeNOW?
No, it's my second time.
Second time, okay. Maybe one last word of hope as a conclusion?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of solutions, and there is, of course, a very important political moment in Europe, and I have to stress it. What's going to happen with the Green Deal? It's the big question of the European election. So it's in 2 months, and the question is: are we going to accelerate the transition, or are we going to take a break? And I think everyone wants the transition to accelerate here. But that's the question of the European election. And if we really want supranational regulation, we need a strong Europe and a Europe accelerating the transition.
Thank you to both of you.